Theme song. Mr. Incredible, incredible, incredible. Catching the bad guys. Pow, pow, pow.
Hello and welcome to episode 15 of Our Dads Are Brothers, a TV and movie review podcast. I'm Nathan Tracy along with my co-host.
I'm Bat Tracy, and today's episode is about The Incredibles. Give this episode a like or 5 stars.
Oh, that's incredible. So how you been?
I've been pretty okay, I guess. Just doing stuff, working
Yeah,
a lot.
yeah, just living life.
I haven't been
Doing
watching a lot
doing
this
it. You
week.
said you have?
I have not.
Ooh,
I've been doing a lot of editing recently, so I just put Family Guy on in the background because it's a show I don't care about and don't have to pay
sure.
attention.
Yeah, that's a nice thing about it. Yeah, I haven't been watching a whole lot either. Just busy. Life's life.
I watched WWE Raw the past 2 Mondays. I watched half of each episode because Vince McMahon's gone, so I wanted to see if WWE is good again. And you know what? It's all right.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
As someone who didn't watch Raw since 2018, I thought it was all right.
Are you gonna continue or it's just gonna stay all right and no thanks?
I don't know. I might keep checking it out, but I don't know if I have the time to watch 3 hours of Raw every Monday.
Yeah,
But yeah, I haven't been watching much, so that's all.
sure. Yeah, no worries.
Oh, actually, you know what? Season 4 of What We Do in the Shadows started. I was watching that.
Nice.
That's a great show.
Oh, I've been watching Schitt's Creek. I don't know if I mentioned that last episode, but we started that.
Is
It's a
that
fun
good?
one.
I've heard it's really good.
It is.
I
Yeah,
watched the pilot once and
it's the
couldn't really get
family
into
of,
it. But everyone has told me they're like, "Oh, if you get to the second episode, that's when it's takes off."
which I hate when people say that, and I hate even more when it's true because why make a show where you have to wait to get into it? Like stupid.
Well,
No, like
yeah, like when someone's like, "Oh, I love this show, but just start at season 2. That's when it gets good." Well, no, I'm gonna start at season 1 because that's the
right.
start.
No, I would call it a pretty good show, not a great show. Like the I feel like I understand what you mean, but you couldn't quite get into it. Like there's a bit to it where like they're all stuck up snobby rich people that are borderline annoying, but that is what makes it funny. Like I hate the mom, but that's why I keep watching it. Like I hate the sister, but that's what like I say hate, but they're funny. That's why I watch it.
Okay,
So
yeah, I've
it's
heard
up
a
to you if
lot
you
of
ever
good
want to
things
try
about
it.
it,
Yeah, I like it.
and I'm running out of sitcoms to watch, so I'll get to it eventually.
Yeah, go for it. And if you don't like it, well, I guess you're up Shit's Creek.
I was gonna say that.
Ah.
Ah.
Yeah, the show's created and starring the Levies. It's got Eugene Levy and his son
Dan?
Dennis. Dave. He
I think
plays
it's
David in the
I
show.
think it's Dan Levy.
You're probably right. You're correct. Also, his sister acts in it as the waitress at the restaurant. So yeah, a bunch of Levies.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, that's really neat. Should we get into the birthdays?
So today's August 11th. Who do we have today?
Today's birthdays are Allison Stoner, who has the best last name, Chris Hemsworth, Hulk Hogan, Miguel A. Nunez Jr., who I know him as the Voodoo Chicken Man from Scooby-Doo,
Yes.
Viola Davis, and I got a wrestler for you, Kaylee Ray.
Very cool. And also, one of our listeners' birthdays today, your cousin, my brother, Drew.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Is he
Yeah.
39 today?
No, he
Oh,
is 31 today.
wow.
Yeah, we've talked about Alison Stoner a few times on the podcast.
I think I have mentioned her. Yeah, because she was in Cheaper by the Dozen.
And something else we've talked about, but I don't remember what.
Yes.
Oh, I believe she was in Hoovie, the basketball movie.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yes. Who are we highlighting today?
Well, today's kind of a small day for birthdays, so I thought maybe we could go with Chris Hemsworth. He seems like the
Yeah.
biggest name.
Yeah, go large.
Oh, he is 39 today.
Wow.
He was born in Melbourne, Victoria, Australia. He's best known for being Thor in the MCU, The Cabin in the Woods, Star Trek, Snow White and the Huntsman, Ghostbusters Answer the Call, Men in Black International, and Bad Times at the El Royale.
Very fun. He's a good actor.
I like him, and when I was looking at his filmography for this, I was surprised by it. I've seen almost every movie the guy's been in.
I've seen a good amount.
He's just in so much. It's crazy.
Yeah, and it's not slowing down. Like there's a bunch of Netflix movies he's coming out in.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't he in a new one with Ryan Gosling coming out?
I honestly don't know.
Because he's in what, Spiderhead, I think it's called.
Maybe. Chris Hemsworth filmography. Oh, dude, he's gonna be in Furiosa?
I don't know what that is.
Oh man. He's gonna be a Morton Joe.
I don't know what that means.
Dude. I am pumped for that.
Oh, I did not
shit.
realize The Gray Man is a Russo brothers film.
Yeah. Well, I got a fun fact for you
Oh
about Chris
yeah?
Hemsworth.
What's so fun about Chris Hemsworth?
Well, it's not really about him, but Chris Hemsworth's uncle, his name is Rod Ansell. He was the inspiration behind the character of Crocodile Dundee.
Oh really?
Yeah, apparently Chris Hemsworth's uncle, Rod, he was a bushman and he would go like live in the bush and things like that. And so yeah, they based the character of Crocodile Dundee on him.
That's neat.
I know. I read that and was like, that is wild, a wild fact.
That is.
Also, we should do the Crocodile Dundee movies sometime.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
I'm gonna put that down as a future episode idea.
Do it. So I have a fun fact about Chris Hemsworth. Sort
Okay.
of fun. So he was in the movie In the Heart of the Sea, where he's a starving sailor or something. And he said that the cast was put on a diet of 500 to 600 calories a day to lose weight, to look starving.
That is not a lot of calories.
That is not a lot of calories at all.
It's like one, that's like a half a piece of pizza.
Maybe. Pizza's high calories.
It is.
I feel like you would just drop so much weight.
Oh my God, that's crazy. Well, also, I'd be remiss if we didn't say this. This week we had a death. Olivia Newton-John, she died. She's from Greece and Xanadu and other things like that. So I just wanted to mention that. But I found something wild about her that I wanted to share with you. It's a fun fact.
What's the fun fact?
Her first movie was from 1965. It's called Funny Things Happen Down Under. It is an Australian produced movie, and her character's name is Olivia. Her last movie, and from 2020, it's The Very Excellent Mr. Dundee, which is an Australian produced movie, and her character's name is Olivia.
It's like her name.
Yeah. I just thought that was kind of cool that her film career, which she's only in like 10 movies, but her film career is bookended by both Australian movies, and she plays a character with the same name as her.
That is cool.
Yeah, I thought that was just kind of fun.
I wonder if she did that on purpose.
Well, the first movie, the Very Excellent Mr. Dundee, which is her last movie, all the actors in that movie play a character with their first name.
Okay.
Her first movie was a musical. So I think the only reason they gave her character name the name of Olivia was because she was one of the dancers or something.
Yeah, I just wondered if she like knew she was done acting after that one, and she like, well, not intentional that she did it, but like,
Well,
she knew.
she was always more of a singer than she was an actor.
Right.
Like I was looking at her filmography, and there's so many gaps where she took like a decade off from just making a movie.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, she sucked in Greece, anyways. I did that to get her eyes out of you, and it worked.
Honestly, it's kind of funny.
Well, I don't think she sucked, but she wasn't amazing.
Should we get into the show though?
I'm going to throw in our email real quick. It's artdazzlebrothers@gmail.com. Hit us up with any comments, questions, unsolicited deck pics in the front or back of your house. We like decks with grills on them and things.
You know what? I also like a nice porch.
Porches are nice, especially covered porches. I feel
A
like
lanai?
I feel like a deck is just an uncovered porch. Like if there's a roof on it, immediately it's a porch. Like you can't have a deck with a roof.
Is that the difference between a deck and a porch?
It is in my book, I guess.
And then what's a lanai? Does a lanai have to have walls?
Call my father, he'll tell you.
That's why I was asking.
My dad's lanai, he has
A
some
TV up there.
Well, they're like lattice walls. Like it
Yeah.
might just be fancy. Yeah, give him a jingle.
What's up first?
Who's on first?
What's on first?
No, who's on first?
What's on second?
I don't know.
No, he's on
The-
third.
The first movie is The Incredibles from 2004.
This one is directed by Brad Bird, and it was made on a budget of $145 million. Very high budget for back then. And this one grossed $631.6 million. Has a 97% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 75% audience score.
It was a fun one for sure, and people liked it. Yeah, I like this movie since it came out. I've seen it many, many times. Not extremely recently. I felt like I know it well enough. I didn't watch it, and I kind of ran out of time for this podcast. But
See, I hadn't seen it in a few years. I remembered it really well, but I was excited to rewatch it because I love this movie. I actually saw
yes,
this in theaters as a kid. It was very
very
fun.
cool. I might have, but I don't remember.
I've seen both of them in theaters.
Nice. Well, should we get right into a little synopsis?
Sure. Do you want to take it or you want me to?
Oh, go right ahead.
Well, the synopsis is Mr. Incredible and Elastigirl are superheroes. But then the government's like, you can't be supers anymore. And so they shut them down. Fast forward a little bit into the future. Bob and Helen, they got some kids now. But Bob, he hates his job and he's like, I just want to be a superhero again. So when he gets a chance to go on a mission, he takes it. And then Elastigirl has to go help him. And then their kids are like stowaways, and the whole family fights some crime together.
Yeah, they are the Incredible.
And I know I've said this on the podcast before, but The Incredibles is the best Fantastic Four movie that's ever been made.
I feel like that's a funny dig at Fantastic Four, but like the Incredibles, like it's almost making the Incredibles sound worse than the Incredibles is.
No, it's that good. Because like you think about it, Elastigirl would be Mr. Fantastic because of stretchy powers. Violet would be Invisible Girl. Mr. Incredible would be the Thing, and then they don't do flame powers, but Dash would be Human Torch.
Well, Jack is the Human Torch.
Technically, yeah.
Well, I get what you're saying. It's like it, but comparing it to it, like saying it's the best of that movie, it's I don't know. I just think it doesn't need to be said. But that's your own opinion. We're allowed opinions in this world.
It's true.
Do you want to get right into the notes?
I would love to.
Yeah. So the fact that the superheroes are no longer allowed to be superheroes, Marvel, with Civil War or whatever, did this kind of thing where like you can't
It
be
did.
superhero, and like Batman also occasionally is hated by the police.
That's because he kicks the shit out of poor people mostly.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, there's times where the government and cities hate superheroes.
Kind of like in real life.
Yeah. Yeah, if you go throw some tights on and go beat somebody up, you get in trouble.
Except for Phoenix Jones. Phoenix Jones, he was the superhero of Seattle for a while. The police actually were working with him and they would let him do stuff and whatnot. But then he got arrested for being like a meth dealer or some shit. So yeah, take that how you will.
Oh man. So yeah, where do your notes start?
My first note is Mr. Incredible's OG suit is so good. I love the colors of it, and it reminds me of Invincible's suit, which
Very
I think
cool.
you don't know Invincible, but he's a superhero, and the suits look very similar because, like Mr. Incredible's is blue and black, and it's got the eye on it. Well,
Mhm.
Invincible's is blue and yellow, and it's got an eye on it. So
I wonder if it, since they're similar words and everything, I wonder if it might have been a idea from Brad Bird.
I'm gonna see when Invincible started. Started in 2003, January 2003. So
Oh, most likely not. A year apart. He probably had this idea going for quite a while.
yeah, Brad Bird came up with the Incredibles in like the 90s.
Oh wow. Yeah, the colors are definitely cool with the black and the blue. It's pretty neat. Yeah, so Mr. Incredible is voiced by Craig T. Nelson,
Coach.
unlike him in that show.
Anytime I see him, I know he's in other stuff, but I just
Yeah.
think of him as Coach. He was in Grace and Frankie. Well, the opening scene of this movie I think is really fun because it's a flashback to when like supers were still legal and Mr. Incredible was the number one superhero, and it's him and Frozone and they're going to stop some crime. And the guy they're going after, his name is Bomb Voyage, which I think is a very fun name for a character because he throws bombs and he's French, and it's just really fun. And there's a part where this guy jumps off a building and Mr. Incredible thinks he's falling. So he jumps a gap between buildings to catch the guy. They go crashing through a window. Mr. Incredible lands on the guy, and the guy goes, I think you broke something. To which Mr. Incredible replies, with counseling, I think you'll come to forgive me. I thought that was a very funny line. And also, later, after that scene ends, you find out that the guy was trying to commit suicide and kill himself, and he didn't want to be saved. And I was like, That's crazy. There's a suicide attempt in a Disney movie.
right?
Pixar Disney movie, but
Yeah.
I thought that was wild.
Well, like you said, he hates his job and wants to be a superhero again. So there's a sweet scene, a funny scene where they show him going to work and his boss is just a complete jackass. The voice of the boss is,
Yeah, it's Wallace Shawn.
yeah, which is in Princess's Bride.
Yes.
And he always says, inconceivable. Everyone knows him. He's the voice of Rex from Toy Story and so on and so forth. And
He is one of those voices that as soon as you hear it, you recognize it.
exactly.
Yeah.
But so he hates his job and he tells his wife every week that he goes bowling with his friend Lucius. And they go and listen to a police scanner somewhere and go and fight crimes. Fake superheroes. They don't have their real suits or anything. And
Yeah, they just wear ski masks.
yeah.
It's a very fun scene because there's a part where they're saving people from a burning building and the they take too long and a cop comes in to and he's like freeze and he's got his gun pointing at him and there's a funny joke where Mr. Incredible previously is like, Frozone, use the moisture in the air to put out the fire. And he's like, there's no moisture in the air. We're in the middle of a fire. It's a burning building.
Yeah.
And so then the cop tells him to freeze. And Lucius immediately reaches over to a water fountain. And he's like, I'm just going to get some water. Then I'm putting my hands up. We will be good. And so he takes a sip of water. And then the cop goes, I'm telling you for the last time, freeze. And you just see Lucius's finger move a little bit. And then it does a hard cut to cops walking in the building, and the cop that told him to freeze is just standing there in icicle, but his bullet is frozen in midair. I like that scene a lot. I think it's very fun. This whole
Yeah.
movie, every scene in this movie is good, and it's fun, just
Yeah.
nonstop fun.
It is. We can't talk about everything, otherwise it'd be like a 2 hour
When I was taking
5 hour.
notes, when I was taking notes, I was like, I'm gonna be really selective of just my favorite bits because otherwise I could write literally everything down. I'll say this movie is in probably my top 50 favorite films of all time.
Very cool. I
Yeah.
don't really have a top list, but I wouldn't be surprised if it gets up there.
That's why when I was getting the Rotten Tomato scores, I was honestly surprised as a 75% audience score because I was like, who are the 25% of people that don't like this movie?
People who hate superheroes. Actually, to be honest, a lot of people hate superheroes.
That is true. But this one's just so good.
It is, but it's superheroes. Like no matter how good it is, the superhero haters aren't gonna be superhero haters.
They can go watch Zack Snyder's movies.
They'll probably just watch Gone with the Wind or something.
I will never watch that movie.
I won't, just because it sounds boring. Like
it sounds so boring, so long. It's all about racism. I'm just I don't care.
The cover is literally just a dude about to kiss a girl. Like,
yeah, and they're on a train for most of it, I think. I don't know.
I honestly don't even know what it's about, but I just assume it's boring, so no thanks. Like even like you said, it's about racism. That's not even the reason I might watch it. It just looks boring.
It just looks so boring, and it's like a 3 hour long movie. I don't have time for that.
No.
Maybe we'll do you know what? If we get people to donate enough money to us, we'll do a Gone with the Wind episode.
Yes.
That can be one of our goals.
Perfect.
Make us watch this shitty, boring movie.
That will get us the donations.
Force two guys who don't want to watch a movie to watch it.
Yes.
Well, my next note that I have, this is when the family's introduced at the start of the movie, and Violet, who's the daughter, she's at school, and she's got this really swoopy haircut. I think is cool, and I wrote a funny note about this. I wrote, Violet Parr should audition for a Tim Burton movie.
Yeah, she's definitely very emo, I guess. The kids
goth and weird.
Yeah, goth, weird, emo.
She kind of reminded me of Wednesday Addams. Like her first appearance, I was like, she looks like Wednesday.
Yeah, and Dash is a super short. So she's the eldest, and Dash is the middle child who's a ball of fire. He not literally, but he's just like wants.
You're thinking of the
cool.
youngest child.
No, he just thinks he's super cool, but he's really short, and I don't think he's all that popular, but he wants to be. I assume. And
he's like the class clown too, because his introduction is he puts a tack on his teacher's chair, but he does it in super speed. So you can't see him do it. And his teacher has like a meltdown where he's like showing a video camera footage of it, and he's like, you see, he moves in his seat and he put the tack there. Like,
Yeah, because it's literally just him going.
yeah, he just moves his head a little bit, and it's him super speeding, but you can't
It's
see
like
it on camera. It's
it's
so
like that
funny.
joke. Have you ever had it done to you? Or somebody goes, "Want to see me go to China? Want to see me do it again?"
Yeah, SpongeBob. Yeah, such a good one. That's actually one of my favorite. This is off topic, but that's one of my favorite SpongeBob episodes because I love
Oh, really?
superheroes so much.
Nice.
And Squidward, he has the volcano on his head, and he has to go Krakatoa. It's very funny. Getting back on track after SpongeBob, there's a scene where Bob and Helen are having dinner with their kids, a family dinner. And I think this scene is so great because, like, Dash and Violet start arguing with each other, and they're like using their superpowers to like fight with each other and bully each other. And, like, she does a force field or whatever and hits the lamp, and the lamp's going wild, and Elastigirl has to reach up with her hand and grab it, and she's trying to use her stretchy powers to grab her kids and set them back down and stuff. And then, like, knock knock at the door, Lucius is there. They're still using their powers. He comes in, they throw something, he freezes it. Just a really fun scene.
Yeah, it's super fun. Just
Like,
shows how nice of a family they are, and they all use their powers at home and fight and everything.
yeah, like a normal
Wholesome.
family.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just the characters in this movie. Like, Brad Bird, he created such a good movie. He's
he
just
did.
such a wonderful made film. And then after the dinner scene, we get a really fun scene where Bob is back at his insurance place, his job, Insura Corp or whatever it's called, and his like he sees a guy outside getting mugged, and he wants to go help him. But Bob's boss is like, "If you go out that door, you're fired, mister." And he's like making jokes about the guy getting mugged and all that stuff, and just a real dick of a guy. But Bob can't take it anymore. Bob picks him up off his feet because the guy's like 3 feet tall, picks him up and throws him through like 17 walls. All the
Yeah,
other
he just
employees,
picks him up by his neck and just
yeah,
like full grip around his whole neck.
just wham. And all the employees are like looking through the hole. And then Bob just stands there and is like, sorry. And then there's a hard cut and they show his boss in like a full body cast. And you can only see his eyes. It's very good.
Well, first of all, what does that old dude show up for? I didn't quite remember.
Rick Dicker,
Yeah,
he
because right after he fires, he shows up at the hospital.
Yeah, because he
Is he like a
deals with
lawyer?
supers. He deals with supers and the public. So like when an incident happens like that because he used his superpowers,
Oh
he
yeah,
has to go in and use his Men in Black device to erase the memory of all those people.
gotcha. See, yeah, he did that to his boss.
Yeah.
And then yeah, Bob goes home and he's in his office and he sees this little tablet in his office.
Yeah, and so like he gets a mission, he gets offered the choice to do another mission as a super, and they're like, you know, come on down or whatever. The price is right. And so
Yeah, come on down.
he grabs his super suit and he goes to do this mission. He gets to the island. He meets Mirage.
He's lying to his wife the whole time, saying
Yeah,
because
he's going to
he's
an
like, yeah,
insurance
yeah, I never
conference.
got fired. I'm going on a conference. She's like, all right, this is good. Good for you.
So like he gets to this island and basically they're like, yeah, we have this robot or whatever that's going crazy and you need to stop it.
Well, one of the best scenes in this part is so he like shows up and there's these transportation balls on tracks and he realizes they're bad guys and he like takes them out, rips the ball off the track and it like still moves. Like it's just the base of it. And it comes down the track towards two guys and they're like, huh? And then it's a full moon and all of a sudden you see this thing in the full moon. It's the ball coming towards them. It was a great scene.
It is a very good scene.
And then it just takes him out.
The robot that he has to fight, this like metal ball and it's got like tentacles on it with claws and stuff. And he makes somewhat quick work of it. But I wrote a note about this. There's a few similarities between this movie and Spider-Man 2. They both came out in 2004, and both of the movies have the superhero Mr. Incredible and Spider-Man stopping a train in almost the same way, where they grab the front of the train and they have to put their feet on the tracks to stop it, and it stops right before it falls off the track and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the robot in this movie has tentacle robot arms like Dr. Octopus from Spider-Man 2.
Right.
I never noticed before, but I was just like, oh, those two movies have a little bit in common.
Crazy. So leading up to that robot he has to fight. So he shows up and there's this lava wall and he wants to like go through it because he thinks something's on the other side. Picks up this giant ass statue and he's running towards it and all of a sudden the walls start opening and he has to hide it and put it back and the chick walks past him and he dips in there. And he's sitting in this waiting, like the meeting room, just sitting there, and the wall opens and there's the robot. And let me say, he about almost died right here. Like it's the dumbest plot point of the whole movie, I think. Like I get superhero and bad guy is a play back and forth. Like that's the thing. Like no one's ever gonna really win.
Yeah.
That's how superheroes work. I get that. But like it like grabs him, freaking blades are coming right for his throat, and he can't do anything, and he's like literally half a second away from just like his head getting decapitated. And Syndrome's there, and he's just like, well, Mr. Incredible, look it, I could almost kill you if I wanted.
That's the second time he goes to the island.
Fuck.
So that's actually the second time he goes to the island, but I have a few notes before that, and I can lead you back into this. So a little time travel like we do. It's like after the first time he gets on the island, he takes care of the robot. He gets a rip in his suit. So then he wants to do missions again. So he does this crazy cool workout montage where he's like pulling trains and lifting them and working out and getting slim and trim. And then of course he goes to Edna Mode's house. Edna, our favorite character. I think you do a great voice.
Edna Mode.
Very good. And he's like, hey, can you just patch this hole in my suit or whatever? And she's like, no, this is your old suit. I make you a new one.
No, darling.
And so she's like, I'll have new threads for you. And she has a really funny line here where she says, my God, you've gotten fat.
Yeah. So funny. Yeah. He's like at the front gate with the video monitor and talking to security. He's like, yeah, can I get to Edna? And he goes, who is this? And she's like, get out of the way. Who is that? My God, you've gotten fat.
I love too whenever she comes on the video monitor, she's like, because Edna's so short, she's like, her face is up there and you can just see into her nose and
Yeah,
stuff.
like upper
So
nose,
funny.
just her eye, things like that.
But then, of course, we get the famous no capes
Yes.
scene right here where she's talking about the creating a new costume for him, and he was like, oh, maybe a cool cape. And she's like, no capes. And she gives like 10 different examples of all these superheroes that have died because of their cape. Some of them are pretty gruesome. Like the one where she's flying by the plane and her cape gets sucked into the engine.
Yeah.
Brutal.
She's like waving to passengers like,
yeah.
Hey.
There'd be so much blood.
Oh, yeah.
I think that scene's really funny. And then, of course, he gets his new suit. And honestly, I don't think his new suit is very cool. It's just solid red and it's like plain red. And there's just like nothing in the design that really pops out. Like his original suit is like black and blue and it's got the red in the eye and it just really pops. This one, it's not so much for me.
Yeah, but for marketing, it's a great, like, nowadays everyone loves it. Kids wear the costumes.
I guess. Just me personally, I think it's not as
fine.
cool as the original. Then he gets that suit and he goes to the mission for the island for his second mission. And this leads back to where you were with Syndrome.
Yeah, but now I'll say, while that's all going down, he put the suit back in the case on display, where all his like superheroes are no longer
and his office
things on the wall. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Helen is vacuuming the hall and like right outside his door is super dirty and she's just like, oh my gosh. She goes in there, she notices there's a fresh line of thread put in on his old suit and he goes, Edna. And goes to Edna's house.
Which is great because she's just trying to like question Edna about, hey, why does Bob's suit, what happened to it? Why'd you do this? And then she immediately is like, oh, I make new suits for your whole family.
Yeah, she just assumed, oh, since Bob's here, like he must need the whole family to have suits. And she's like, what? No. But it's funny when she calls, she's like, hi, Edna, this is Helen Parr. Who? Helen? Bob's wife? Who? She takes the phone away from her head, rolls her eyes, and goes, Elastigirl. Elastigirl. Oh my God, how are you, darling? Just like 4 lips on her.
I love Edna because she's so eccentric. And like, she must be making good money as a designer because her house is huge.
Well, I'm sure she makes superhero suits. But
are they paying her for these?
Yes.
Because there is a line where...
Yeah, because... Yeah, go ahead.
There's a line in the second movie where she's watching Jack Jack. She's babysitting Jack Jack, and Bob's like, "Oh, do I owe you for babysitting?" She's like, "No, no. I add the new suit to your tab. I watch this one for free." And so it's like, okay, so he does have a running tab for these suits, but how's he paying for them? He doesn't have a job.
I don't know.
But also, they do say that the superhero mission that he goes on, like the one that he gets him to the island, they paid him very well for that. Because
Yeah,
like,
supposedly at least.
yeah. But does he even get the money? Because maybe they did pay him, and then Syndrome's like, well, I'm gonna kill him anyways, so who cares about the money or
Right.
whatever. But yeah. I wrote about this scene since we're talking about it. I think Syndrome is an awesome villain with an amazing suit. Like so simplistic, but his suit's just so cool.
I think, yeah, super simplistic. That, yeah, I don't think it's so cool, but you do, so I'm glad. You should be him for Halloween from here until you die.
I don't
Every
know if I could get
year.
my hair to stand up like that.
Elmer's glue. You sure could.
Yeah. Elmer's glue is how you do really cool mohawks and stuff.
Yes. So I assume Elmer's glue for other things might help you out. Just use Gorilla Glue. Come on. Yeah, Helen gets to Edna's house and she's like, first I made a suit for the baby. And she's like, Jack Jack doesn't have any powers. And she's just like, well, you never know. Look at it can withstand 1,000 degrees and it starts at like just flames, and then it's like full on machine guns hitting it. And she goes, what do you expect this baby to be doing?
Which is that's one thing about these movies where I'm like, that's weird. Is so like that spoiler, I guess, but whatever. Jack Jack at the end of this movie is revealed to have powers, which is cool, but like, does that mean all supers in this universe get their powers as children? Like, was Dash a baby just like crawling super
Yes.
speed across the floor, you know?
I almost can guarantee
Like
yes.
Violet as a baby, she's just invisible, and then they're like, "Oh my
Yeah.
God, we lost our kid."
Yeah, probably.
Oh my goodness, what a hassle that would be.
Oh, I know.
I already don't want kids, and if supers were real, Jesus.
The one thing I hate about the suits, like Edna's showing, like the suit can withstand fire and bullets and stuff. There's no suit on the head.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, just a tiny little diamond mask.
yeah, so like
Yeah,
if you got shot up by machine guns, if your powers couldn't withstand that, you're done. Like,
and they
in
even
general,
the she's bleh, she's Jesus Christ. She shows that the suit can withstand all that and like taking gunfire and whatnot. But then later in the movie, when they're actually getting shot at, none of them, they always move out of the way of the bullets or whatever. And I'm like, so is it only the baby's suit that's bulletproof? Theirs
all
aren't.
right, all right,
And then, after the part where she gets the suits made for her, and eventually she's going to go to the island too, um, because Edna put a tracker in all the suits, so she's able to locate where Bob is. And she's like, he's not at an insurance conference, he's on an island. But at the same time, cutting back to Mr. Incredible, he's getting tortured by Syndrome, where he's like hanging up in this like electric oval type thing, and he's like hanging by his hands, and his legs are braced and cuffed and whatnot. And I think the torture scene is so fun. And it sounds weird that I'm saying it's fun, but Jason Lee has just such a magnetic charisma where like he just sells this scene so much. And I just think his performance is really good here. Just really good.
I agree, and I also think that the way he's suspended with the electricity, I just liked that.
Yeah, it
Like,
looks
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
I don't know if it'd work in real life, but it looks cool.
It's possible. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, then he gets out of that, and then it's almost just like old school like traps, like to get out of there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he has to go through like,
Yeah, those tar bubble balls, those are super cool.
yeah, those are very cool. And he fights them for a long time. But
Yeah, yeah.
Helen, she's flying a jet to the island. She gets a jet. I don't remember where from, but she has a jet.
Yeah, it was an old buddy, which I actually was looking at some of the deleted scenes. Redbird actually was gonna have a whole scene about the pilot of that plane and how he and Helen were friends. And so, like in the beginning, so she looks at the phone and it's her wearing a headset along with the pilot, and she makes a call and then it's like, "Hey, I'm gonna need a favor." And then it just cuts to her flying. So he cut out the backstory there, but yeah, I did see that it's an old friend of hers.
Oh, okay. Well, I think the airplane scene is so fun because like she's flying there or whatever, and this is when she leaves the Jack with the babysitter Kari, and it's spelled, like Carrie, but with a K where instead of a C and only one R and an I where the IE goes. But she realizes that Dash and Violet stowed away on the plane, and they're there too because
Yeah,
they found their super suits.
she's super against the suits in general. She's like, this is so stupid. So she goes to put hers on, and then she throws her bag on an empty seat, and it lands on invisible light, and she goes, "Ow!"
Yeah,
And
very
at
good.
that moment, I turned and told my wife, I said, I don't hate Violet, but God, she's annoying. Like, she's
Really.
just a whiny teenager. Like, well, I mean, she gets better. Like, she definitely, but like, they're trying to make her like awkward, and then eventually she like gains it. But yeah, she's like, well, I don't even want to come. Dash made me. Like, she's just like whiny
See, Violet's actually my favorite character in this movie.
because she's whiny.
I don't know. It's just something about her. It's just my favorite character. Well, the airplane missile chase, I think, is just thrilling. Like, just a great sequence where like the missiles are locked onto the plane, and she's like doing all these evasive maneuvers, and she's like, "Kids, buckle up!" They don't even have time to buckle up. She's spinning the plane around. Her kids are flailing to the ceiling, hitting the ground, hitting the sides of the plane, going all different ways. And she's like, "Violet, you need to put a fucking force field around this plane, or we're gonna fucking die." Not the dialogue,
But
but
I've never done one that big.
and I think the most fun thing about this scene is you get to see Helen like instantly revert back to like her superhero like persona where she's like, I'm flying a plane, there's missiles coming, I'm spinning this plane, I'm flying up, I'm flying down. But at the same time, she's still just like, hey kids, shut up back there and get in your seats. Like she's being a mom and a superhero at the same time. And it's just
Yeah.
like,
And then she
man,
radios, she's like, stop these missiles, there's children on board. And Bob hears that radio, and his emotion of, oh my gosh, my kids are on that plane. He deserves an Oscar.
and then the plane explodes, right? And Bob's like, my whole fucking family's dead, you asshole. And Helen, of course, saves the kids. They're flailing through the air. She uses her stretchy power. She grabs her kids, and then she turns herself into a parachute, and they land in the ocean. And they're like in the ocean. And she's like, oh shit, guys, look. And they have to swim away because the plane smashes into the ocean on top of them.
Well, as they go down, she goes, prepare for impact. And I think it's one, probably the cheesiest line in the whole movie. It's just silly. Parachutes down in the water, and then to swim out of there, she turns into a boat and then uses Dash as like a motor, so like to make it her a motorboat. It was kind of funny how she just like shapeshifts. It kind of reminds me, I know it's very different, but now that we're talking about shapeshifting, in the movie Storks with the wolf pack, they'd be like wolf pack helicopter, wolf pack submarine, wolf
Yeah.
pack airplane. And it was just hilarious. If you haven't seen Storks, watch Storks.
Starks is very good. Well, so once they get to the island, Helen is like, kids, wait here, because I'm gonna go do some super stuff. And so like she tries to get into the building where Mr. Incredible is, and she's like sneaking in, doing all this like spy stuff. And there's a really funny sequence where she gets stuck in the doors, like using the key card, and like the door closes on her leg, and so she has to stretch through another set of doors. Well, then that one closes on like her stomach, and then like a third set of doors like closes and her hand gets trapped in there, so she's like stretched between three sets of doors in a hallway, and she's like trying to find the key card with her free hand and like punching a dude, and then like a guy sees her leg and is like, huh? And so she's kicking that guy, and
Yeah, he's like poking it or whatever. Probably like he's like, what? There's a leg hanging here.
yeah, very funny. My note is LOL, Helen got stuck in the doors. And I think once they get to the island, this movie really is just nonstop from here. Like it's a lot of action because almost immediately Dash and Violet get found by some henchmen, and they're like trying to shoot at them and whatever, which you're gonna shoot some kids?
Right.
Crazy. But Dash has a really funny chase scene here where he's using his super speed and they're coming at him with like gliders that have like saw blades on the sides of them. They're like cutting down trees and stuff. And I love the circular saw blade things that they have or whatever, but very fun. And of course, we get the scene where Dash runs on water and he sees the water coming at me and kind of closes his eyes because he knows he's about to fall in the water. And all of a sudden, he's like, whoa, I can run on water. Very, very cool.
Super cool. Yeah, he like you said, he was like, oh shit, I'm gonna fall. And then instantly he was like, oh, and then he turns cocky.
Yeah.
I can run on water.
And then he kind of
He's a really
realizes
cocky
like,
kid.
yeah. And then he kind of realizes like, oh, I can handle this. And my next note is LOL Dash killed a guy because he runs into a wall, runs up the wall, and then like jumps over the circular saw blade guy, and he just crashes straight into the wall and explodes. That guy's dead. Dash is
Yeah,
like 8 years old and he killed a man,
nothing wrong with that when you're a superhero.
I guess. And then, of course, Helen and Bob, they manage to escape from the building and join their kids in the jungle. And we get the first action scene with the whole family, and they do the superhero pose where they're all standing there posing and just mwah, chef's kiss.
But to circle back to that scene where Syndrome almost kills Bob with like he could have slash should have. If he was a true bad guy, he would have just been like dead in a heartbeat, and he would have won. But no, he wanted a little bit of cat and mouse, like every bad guy ever does. But we
Yeah,
forgot to mention that Syndrome was in a scene when they first showed the
yeah, in the
superheroes.
opening.
Yeah, 15 years ago. He's this little kid dressed just like him. He's got a Mr. Incredible suit on, and he's like asked for an autograph or something. And he's, I think that was just when the press was like said no more superheroes or whatever. So he's like in a mood, and he goes like, "Not now, buddy," or something like that. And he just looks sad. Fast
Yeah,
forward 15
because he
years.
he tries to be his partner. He's Incrediboy,
Yeah, he's
and
like, "Yeah, I
Mr.
could be your
Incredible
sidekick," and he's like, "No."
he clicks the ejector seat from his car and kicks Buddy out onto the
Yeah,
street.
he calls him buddy, and he goes, "So yeah, fast forward 15 years, he's now bad guy," and he goes, "Buddy, it's you," and he goes, "I'm not buddy," and he's like super pissed.
Yeah, I think what makes Syndrome such a compelling villain is that his motivations are well intentioned in this movie because like he wanted to be a super when he was a kid. Mr. Incredible told him, "No, you're not good enough to be a super." So he grew up, invented all this stuff, you know, put all his time and energy into creating these wild inventions, and he does want to take out supers. Like he is a villain, but at the same time, he wants to do it because he wants to be a superhero and be able to save people, and he felt like he never got the chance to do that. So I think like that's what makes a good
Wanted,
villain.
past tense.
Yeah, wanted. Because
Yeah,
that's what makes a good villain is when you hear their motivation and go, yeah, that makes sense. I can see why they're doing this, you know? They're just going about it the wrong way.
yeah.
My main example is like Thanos. Like Thanos is worried, he's like, hey, there's a lot of people in the galaxy. We're running out of food. We can't produce enough. Like there's some serious
I
issues.
just have to kill half.
Yeah. And so like you get his reasoning behind it, but you're like, yeah, but you're doing it the wrong way because you had the Infinity Gauntlet. You could have just doubled the amount of food
All right.
in the universe, or
Yeah, but
something
that's
like that.
magic. Killing is okay. Magic is not.
The whole thing's magic. It's a fucking glove with or gems in it or whatever.
Stones, infinity stones.
Skipping ahead a little bit, Syndrome thinks he's killed the Incredible Family with an explosion. And so he releases a missile that contains one of his robot things. He sends it to the city. I don't remember what city they're in, but he sends it to the city. It starts attacking the streets. And he's like, this is my chance. I'm going to go in. I'm going to make this look good and, fight this robot or whatever. So he shows up and they're like, oh my God, it's a new superhero. And they're like, is that Gazer Beam? And he's like, no, it's me, Syndrome. And so he starts, making like play fighting with the robot, play fighting, what I watch every Wednesday.
Omnidroid.
The Omnidroids,
And
yes.
the city
And
is Metroville.
Metroville, thank you. So he starts fighting the robot and making it look like a real fight, but he's controlling the robot in his like little wrist column thing. The robot senses that and knocks it off his wrist. So then he actually can't fight the robot because he's not a trained superhero, and he gets taken out by the robot. Frozone, he's in his apartment. He happens to look at the window, see this robot. He's supposed to go have dinner with his wife, but of course, he's like, "Oh, it's time for Frozone." The
Which
best
Frozone,
line,
Lucius. I don't think we ever connected that to.
yeah, well, Frozone gets the best line in the entire movie. Honey, where is my super suit? And she's like,
Super
I
great.
don't know.
That whole dialogue, he's like, "Yeah, but the greater good. I'm the greatest good you'll ever gonna get."
Yeah. It's very funny. Yeah, the best scene in the whole movie. And then my next note I wrote, I love how spectacularly fast that Syndrome fails as a hero. It's within maybe 3 minutes of him fighting this robot that he just gets taken out like a schmuck.
But also, Syndrome's been around for a long time. There's a scene where There's a scene where Mr. Incredible breaks into like an office and flips through the computer looking for something, and he sees Syndrome's dialogue of like different robot prototypes and who they've killed.
Yeah.
They've killed all of his superhero friends. It shows like this guy dead, this guy dead, this guy killed a robot, robot
Yeah,
upgraded,
I was gonna
dead.
say what's a really cool thing in that scene is you get to a couple superheroes that managed to take down the robot, and then he upgraded it, and then immediately they got wiped out.
Yeah, and then the upgraded robot just stayed and killed, and then it just kept happening.
Yep,
Yeah, so there's just this moment of, oh shit,
all
all of
my
my
friends.
superhero
Yeah,
friends are dead.
and there's a cool thing too where when it shows Mr. Incredible or whatever, it says like known where or whereabouts known or whatever, but it shows Frozone and it says whereabouts unknown. And I just think
Yeah,
Frozone is the best super because he always manages to save people and do his job, but also he's so low, like low profile that he just never gets caught or anything.
exactly.
He's the best.
So yeah, Syndrome's been around for a while. He's caused lots of mayhem.
Give
So
Frozone
this,
his own movie.
yeah, so they're showing Syndrome for the first time. Almost seems like a new super villain. But yeah, no, he's been around for a while. So this is like wrapping up his little life.
So how the Incredibles get back to Metroville is they are flying a jet with they're flying a jet that has an RV attached to it, and how it's attached is Helen is holding onto the RV and then holding onto the plane with her stretchy powers, and they're flying through the air, and then they fucking launch an RV through the air, just flying from the sky down to the road on an RV. They land, they're driving like crazy, and then they go to fight the robot. They get out, they're doing their thing. Frozone shows up, and Frozone's suit is so goddamn cool. He's a cool cat.
Yeah, he sure is. He's got like this Cyclops headgear
Yep. Same
over his
with Gazer
eyes.
Beam.
Yeah, yeah, he's pretty cool.
The visor. That's the word.
There you go. So when Omnidroid shoots off the remote off Syndrome's wrist that you mentioned, it actually knocks Syndrome unconscious. So he's down for the fight. Now
Yeah,
the
he lands
robots,
on top of a building or something like that.
yeah. So now the robot's in full fight mode, not being controlled by anybody. He's just like evil as hell, trying to destroy everybody. The Incredibles and Frozone are all fighting this giant Omnidroid, and he's launching missiles or little things.
Yeah, like bombs or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah, I wrote the entire battle with the robot is so great and has so many good moments that I couldn't possibly write them all down here. That's the note I wrote. Because like
it's a good
just
note.
the whole fight scene, there's just so many little details that just make this so good. Like the part where like Mr. Incredible knocks off the like the spinny arm thing of the robot and he
Yeah,
realizes, oh, it's controlled by Syndrome's remote control or whatever. And he's like gonna launch this thing at the robot to kill itself because he remembers, oh, I did that before. But then like Helen finds the robot or the remote and she's like pressing different buttons and she like turns off the thing he's holding and he's like, no, press the button again, get out the way. And he finally is able to take down the robot. And then of course they find Syndrome and they lock him up. Rick Dicker shows up, which the guy's name is Rick Dicker. Isn't that funny? It's just a
so
funny
funny.
name. But
Yeah,
he shows up and takes Syndrome away, and they're like, job well done. Let's go home. So then the Incredibles, they go to their house and they're like, hey, we're gonna let Kari go, you know? Well, Kari, just as they get to their house, Kari's like, hey, and she calls them and she's like, hey, thanks and so much for sending the replacement babysitter. I really could use it or whatever. I had to get home. And they're like, replacement. So I rush home and oh no, Syndrome has Jack Jack, which I thought was a real fun twist because the government guy, right before that, they said that Rick Dicker's like, hey, I got Syndrome in custody. We're all good. But then, like, with the voicemails, that she's like checking her voicemails from Kari, and like, it's such a slow reveal of Kari being like, Jack Jack's going crazy. You got to get home right now. Oh my God, I can't handle this. And then, hey, thanks for sending the new babysitter. So it's just
yeah,
such a good twist.
yeah. But there's tons of messages. It's like, so Jack Jack's a little crazy. So Jack Jack's a little crazy, and just like,
Yeah,
oh, Jack Jack's
escalating.
freaking out. Yeah, it was great.
And then, of course, we'll get into it, but why those phone messages were happening. But yeah, and so there's a short little battle. This fight seems a lot shorter than you would think. But Syndrome basically just kidnaps Jack Jack and tries to fly to his ship. Well, Helen's like, Bob, throw me. She throws her up in the air. She gets up there, catches Jack, falls down to the earth. Syndrome's like, you haven't heard the last of me, Syndrome. And then his cape gets sucked into his jet propeller, and he gets killed because of his cape. Mwah. Chef's kiss.
And Edmund's just like, no capes.
No capes. And then because they are supers again, and they've learned to control their powers and whatnot, they let Dash finally play sports in school. And there's a really funny bit at the end where he's in a race, and like all the other kids take off in the race, and they're like, Dash, we run. And so like he immediately catches up to the other group of runners and takes the first place. And they're like, no, Dash, you can't win. Take second. So he's like slowing down, and they're like, no, go faster. And then he speeds up again, and they're like, you got second place, just get second place.
He looks so
he's like,
confused.
He's like, yeah, all right, I'll get second. And then after he gets out of there, they're like just cheering him, and they're like, you did such a good job. You got second place, buddy. I can't believe it. And then of course, we get the Underminer. Beware the Underminer, which is John Ratzenberg. He's the voice of the Underminer, and it's his
Burger.
Oh, Ratzenberger. He's had a cameo in every single, or a voice role in every single Pixar movie up to Soul. So that was his. And he's not in Pixar movies anymore.
There's one funny part from earlier. I don't remember where in the movie it is, but it's kind of after they accept the fact that they're superheroes again and the powers are good and everything. And Bob,
It's the workout montage.
Bob like pinches Helen on the butt, and she's like, "Ooh," and then he's far away from her, and she pinches him on the butt, like extending her arm, and it was just funny.
Yeah, that's during the part where he's doing his workout and like the montage of him working out and whatnot, because she like is vacuuming and he's reading the newspaper and just reaches down and lifts the couch with one hand so she can vacuum under it.
Yeah,
It is a really funny scene. But I think that wraps up the first Incredibles.
I think so.
Nice. Well, what's your final rating for the Incredibles?
My final rating is 6 stars. Just kidding, 5 stars.
Nice.
6 if I could.
I also give this 5 stars. I think it is a perfect movie. And like I said earlier in the podcast, it's in my top 50 of all time. I think it's just wonderful.
Very good. After that, a little short film that came out on the special features.
On the original DVD.
On the DVD. Jack Attack from 2005.
This one, again, was directed by Brad Bird, because he directed the movie. And this one, I mentioned a little bit ago, this is the part where when Kari's calling Helen, we get to see the other side of all her voicemails, because Jack goes fucking crazy.
Yeah.
I wrote a few notes for this. It's only 5 minutes long, and it's just so good. But I think the baby on fire part is really funny when she's like talking on the phone or whatever, then she turns around and Jack's just a ball of flames in his high chair.
Yeah, super
so
funny.
Good. Also, this is side note, it's not in my notes or anything, but I really like Jack's facial expressions in this movie, because like babies make funny faces, but he's just so expressive and like just so goofy looking. He's like, blah, blah, blah,
yeah.
Blah, blah.
Yeah, there's a funny part where she, like right when she starts like just babysitting, she's like, all right, here we go, and like puts toys out everywhere and then puts on Mozart, and his eyes kind of like, they're not cross-eyed from the beginning, but they like widen, like uncross-eyed, like Mozart.
And I just love all his babbling that he does where it's like blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
it's so funny. It's like as the short film progresses, you see Kari hasn't slept at all because she's been taking care of Jack, and she's got like these huge bags under her eyes, and she's just looking really sleep deprived. I think during that scene, she looks like Gollum from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
And then my last note, this is when at the end of the special, we see Syndrome show up to relieve Kari, and he's like, "Oh, I'm the new babysitter," and she's like, "Why do you have an S on your costume?" And he's like, "Oh, the S stands for sitter. Originally, it was going to stand for babysitter, but I can't walk around with a giant BS on my shirt."
Super funny. She didn't get it, but I got it.
I got it. We're adults. We get it.
We're adults. Yeah, so Jack's powers that he just like flips through all because like
he's got like 20,000 different powers.
Fully control depending on his emotions. Yeah, one is just like
when he turns into like a gremlin.
Yeah,
where
one's
like
like a Tasmanian gremlin devil.
he lights on fire, he can teleport. I mean, we get even more powers in the second movie, but
Yeah,
just in this one, he's got like 10 different ones. It's
yeah,
crazy.
super crazy.
He's way overpowered. They're gonna have to make an Incredibles in the future where like Jack's all grown up and just the world's greatest superhero because he's like, well, I can do literally anything.
But at the same time, I would not want that to happen.
Do you have any notes about Jack Attack?
Not really. Just I was just mentioning a few of the things. So one of his powers is just like teleportation. She like goes to catch him, and he like slips out of his diaper, and then is floating around, going through the wall just naked, and it was pretty funny.
I thought that was funny too. Yeah, like he can teleport. He has the flames. Like he's just so many powers. He can phase through walls. That's
Super
its
big,
own power.
super small,
Yeah,
like yeah,
he can float.
metal Jack,
Yeah,
which I because in the end of the first one, the parents don't even see it because he's in Syndrome's hands, but he does all this to him. He
yeah.
burns Syndrome's hands, then he turns to metal to like drop a little, and like he's like messing with Syndrome, and Syndrome's just like, oh my fucking god, this fucking baby.
Yeah. I should kill this fucking baby.
Yeah, shut that baby up.
Shut that baby up.
Yeah, but
Ugh.
no real notes.
Okay.
I give this 5 stars. To me, it was a wonderful backstory, same exact timeline of the first one.
Yeah.
Exact audio clips and video clips from the movie, like showing you like, hey, remember
hmm
when you heard this? Yeah.
I give it 5 stars as well. I think it's very fun that they included this as a short on the DVD because, in all honesty, you could put this scene in the movie,
Oh yes.
but the way that they do it in the movie, I think works because you get that reveal, like I said, where it's the
Yeah.
voice messages, and so to have this as a compliment to that is just perfect.
Yeah. I
It's
love
just,
behind the scenes
it's
stuff.
so
Anyways,
good.
it's just like Lion King 1.5. It's
Yep,
wonderful.
it's so good. It's best in the trilogy, except it's not because the first is the best.
Yeah. Well, anyways, up next, another special feature from the said DVD. It's called Mr. Incredible and Pals from 2005.
This one was directed by Roger L. Gould, and it is 4 minutes long.
Now, does he work on any of the others, or like where did he come from? Do you know?
I don't know. I should have maybe looked into that, but I think it's just because it's a different animation style that maybe he was the guy they chose.
Okay,
Yeah. I assume he was just working on the movie and they're like, "Hey, you want to direct this?"
sure.
Yeah. I got a few notes about this. Right off the bat. The animation sucks. They did this on purpose because it's supposed to be like a cartoon from the 60s where it was just still images with voices and the lips moving, which if you couldn't tell, they're real lips, real human lips. It's a I can't remember what the process is called, but it's like synchrovox or something. So yeah, it's just still images and voice, and they said it's animation. It was a real cheap way to make content for kids back in the day. My second note is this is meant to be bad. I just explained that. Frozone's character, a little bit racist. He speaks in nonstop slang, like jive slang, and his skin tone is whitened up. The Mau's a real mouse. Basically said that already. And my last note is Lady Lightbug is actually a pretty interesting villain, and she reminds me of a villain that would appear in the Tick cartoon series.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was fine.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's
Yeah,
it's weird and like I understand the purpose behind it, but it's still just a little weird. And like they have Mr. Skipperdo, who's a tiny little bunny that hangs out with them for some reason.
yeah, with glasses.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just like Superman. Superman movies now, or like Captain America. Captain America had comics back in the day, like in the movie. Like,
Yeah.
so like this is meant to be like a 50s, 60s Saturday morning cartoon, low budget, low quality style. So it shows that, Incredibles,
The Supers were popular enough to have a TV show back in
yeah,
the day.
they were around a while.
Yeah.
Right on the Wikipedia, it says that Frozone speaking in forced beatnik slang. That's
Okay.
what they call it. Yeah, but I thought it was just fine overall. Like you said, I get why they did it. It was fine.
As a 4 minute short, there's entertainment value there.
Yeah, I probably won't watch it ever again, but that's fine.
Yeah, I won't watch this one ever again. I in overall, I give this one 4 stars. Out of everything Incredibles related, this is easily the lowest for me.
I gave this 3 stars.
So just fine.
Yeah, like I said, it's a thing.
Hmm.
Do you have any more notes about this one?
I do not.
So now, same exact thing, but with commentary. But the commentary is fun, which we'll get to in a second.
Yeah, because it's Craig T. Nelson and L. Jackson doing the commentary, but as Mr. Incredible and Frozone.
Yeah, so it's these superheroes seeing themselves portrayed in a cartoon, and they're like, "What the hell?"
Yeah, and this is the first time they've seen it because the backstory is that they were approached to make this cartoon and they signed off on their likeness, but then the bill banning supers went into effect before they can continue making the show. So the first episode never aired, which is why they're now doing the commentary for it.
Yeah, I thought it was really funny.
It's
They're
so good.
both kind of like, "What? What is this?" Like,
They spend the entire 4 minutes just shitting on it. And Mr. Incredible at the
yeah,
start is kind of like, hey man, it's animation, it's for kids, just let it
yeah,
go. And then by the end of it, he's like, you know what, this sucks.
yeah,
Because he
because
even
yeah,
tries to
Frozone.
defend the rabbit a little bit.
Yeah. So Frozone is actually a complexion of a African American, which we never mentioned because it didn't matter until this line here, where he's like, "They made me white," like, and it is lightened. I wouldn't call it a white guy. And Mr. Incredible's like, "It's a light tan.
Yeah, they make
It's
you
not."
tan. Yeah, so I didn't, most of my notes, I only wrote 4 notes for this because I covered most of the stuff in the first without the commentary. But I honestly, when I was explaining the backstory, I covered a couple of my notes. So Frozone constantly nitpicks the show for its shitty animation, for making him appear white, and for his dialogue in the cartoon itself, which he calls out saying that it's racist and that he sounds like a beatnik. And from there, he goes into this long rant about how he's like, I am Frozone. I'm a cool guy, and they tried to make me cool in this show, but it's not. I am so cool. That's why I'm the coolest guy. And you know what? I only endorse things that are cool, and I don't endorse things that suck. And because my likeness is in this show and this sucks, it looks bad on me. And now you're having me do this commentary, and you're tying me and my name to this thing that's so awful. I don't even want to be a part of it anymore. And it's so funny.
Yeah, he went off.
And a thing we didn't mention in this is the whole plot of this cartoon is that Lady Lightbug stole a bridge. And so they're looking for a bridge, and there's a part where Mr. Incredible's like looking under tents and different buildings for this bridge, and then Mr. Skipperdo's like, "Look behind you," and they turn, and the bridge is just standing there behind them, and then that's the part where Frozone's like, "What the hell is this? I'm done." And then they start swearing. And I thought this was maybe the funniest thing I've ever heard in a Disney movie where you actually can hear Samuel Jackson say motherfucker, but like it's bleep, so you only hear the m and the at the end. And then Craig T. Nelson goes, I don't know what's the deal with the fucking rabbit. And then you get that bleeped out too. And I was just like, this is so funny. Like, just imagine being a kid and watching this on DVD and being like, whoa.
I don't know if a kid would. You know how many kids would see commentary and just skip it?
Yeah. I don't think I watched my first movie with commentary until I was in high school.
I didn't hear it, but that's fine that you said it. It doesn't matter. It's probably there.
What?
The MFR.
Oh, here, let me go. I'll find the timestamp for you. Okay, so here's the reason that you didn't hear the Fs. So they do have the swearing in the original short film, but they censored it on the DVD. They cut the bleeps out. But on the Blu-ray release, which is what I have, they restored the bleeps. So that's maybe why you didn't hear it. But I thought it was in this video.
SB, Mr. I. He's found the bridge. The bridge? Are you kidding me?
I don't know where they got the beep rabbit.
Yeah,
What are you talking about? Okay.
yeah. Samuel Jackson says motherfucking rabbit, and then Craig T. Nelson goes, I
But
don't know where they got the fucking rabbit.
But it actually has beeps.
Yeah, they
Correct?
bleep it
What
out.
you're yeah, that's what I'm hearing here.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any more comments?
I do not.
Okay.
Oh, what do we rate this?
I rate this 1 star more because the commentary of the characters versus the actors was really funny.
Yeah, agreed.
So yeah,
I
4 stars for me.
I give this 6 stars.
So 5 stars.
I think this is maybe the greatest thing Disney has ever put out in their entire catalog as a company.
I think it's on par with the created bloopers in the end of Toy Story. Same type of thing. So like when you create bloopers or when you have the characters do commentary, like it's just great content. Creating animated bloopers is just amazing.
It is. And yeah, I don't know. I had never seen this before until I watched it for this podcast, and I was legit laughing out loud nonstop at the commentary. Especially when they started with the like his rant and the bleeping and stuff, I was like dying. Like this is just so funny. And I realized I did break our rating system, but I was really debating what to put this at. And I was like, fuck it, I'm putting 6 stars. It's better than Jaws.
The next movie is Incredibles 2 from 2018. A 14-year gap. They made us adults wait now. Now adults.
I honestly didn't mind the wait because if they never made Incredibles 2, I would have been fine, you know?
Yeah. If they promised it early, like
And
Incredibles 2 coming out soon and then it didn't forever, I'd be pissed. But nah, I know what you're talking about.
and there was technically already a sequel made because so Incredibles ends with the Underminer, and they made a video game called The Incredibles Rise of the Underminer, and it picks up right where the movie ends. So technically, the video game was the sequel for like, all the years up leading up to the movie.
Then why isn't this Incredibles 3?
Because Incredibles 2 is made, the video game is no longer canon.
They should have named this Incredibles 3.
Could you imagine if they would have done that? People would be so fucking confused. Anyways, I'm just derailing the podcast. Anyways, this one was directed by Brad Bird again on a $200 million budget. This one grossed $1.243 billion. The 93% score on Rotten Tomatoes, which is less than the first, but has a higher audience score of 84%.
That's a big profit.
It's like over 800. It's like over 10 million, right? Because of the 1.2. So it'd be because if it just made a billion,
point two is
200
million. So it was $1 billion profit. It was $1.43 billion profit. But after marketing, yeah, you're right around 800 million.
There's a funny quote from one of the producers where they talked about the 14-year gap, and he's like, "Yeah, if we make Incredibles 3, we're gonna have to wheel oxygen tanks in for the cast."
Honestly, if they waited another 14 years, yeah,
Samuel Jackson would be dead, I think.
Well, I think Craig T. Nelson might be.
I don't know. Let's look up how old these people are now.
I'll look up Craig.
I'll look up Samuel Jackson.
Craig is 87. Sorry, 78.
Samuel Jackson's 73. So I guess they wouldn't be that old. Maybe Holly Hunter is.
No, Craig T. Nelson would be in his 90s.
Yeah.
He'd be 92.
Oh, Holly Hunter's only 64. She'd be fine.
I just assume Craig T. Nelson drinks a lot.
Quick synopsis for Incredibles 2. Have you seen the first Incredibles?
Yes.
All right, well, this one is just that, but Elastigirl's the main character.
Nice.
And they do a little bit more hacking. It's a little bit more modern. It seems like it takes place in a different decade, even though it's a direct sequel that picks up immediately after the first movie. Because like the first movie is all about like 60s spy stuff, it's got that aesthetic. And then this one's just like all about like 80s hacking movies. It's weird. Right. I like this movie a lot.
Yeah.
And
I liked it as well.
Oh, my synopsis sucked. The villain is the Screenslaver. They hack screens and they can control people's minds. And Elastigirl gets hired by Bob Odenkirk to go, do some superhero missions because she's the safest superhero. And they turn the law around and get supers reinstated. But oh no, there's a twist.
Oh no. Do you know what Dash is short for?
Yeah, it's Dashiell.
Stupid.
It's like the Beatles name. It's a shitty pun.
So I'll be honest, even though I've seen this one somewhat recently, I'm just blanking on how it goes, what it's about.
I can help you with that. It picks up directly after the first one. Like the first one ends with the Underminer coming up and being like, "Beware the Underminer," and then this one starts with him being like, "I am the Underminer." Directly up. I have a note about it. I'm going to read you my note as it's written. it does have a typo. Underminer opening sequence is really food. So fun and has some fun twists with the storytelling. Also, love that they pay off the ending of the first after all these years. I love a direct sequel.
I like direct sequels.
Quantum of Solace, the sequel to Casino Royale, the James Bond with Daniel Craig movies, that's a direct sequel. Picks up right after the first.
I think it'd be cool if there was a movie where like the ending of the movie, dude falls off a building and he's falling backwards towards the ground and it cuts black because you know it happens. And then the beginning of the second movie is just splat and the guy hits the ground and then it picks up from there.
And then just credits. You're like, wait, what? This is a fucking 30-second movie? Why are the credits 3 minutes? What the
No,
fuck's
the
going
second
on?
movie would it would start with whoever's on the ground. They see it happen and they're like, oh shit, and then it goes from ground level.
Is that,
The whole
is that
the whole
Dave?
first movie is on a rooftop, and the whole second movie is on the sidewalk.
It's just a real-time drama of a guy being like, oh my God, I gotta call 911. You guys just fucking fall? What the hell? Did he
Oh my
jump?
gosh!
Is it a suicide? Is it a murder? I should call the cops, but I'm gonna solve it myself. What's going on up there? He never goes to check. He's just like,
Don't say too much because this is a good idea.
he's asking people on the sidewalk, hey, do you have binoculars? Anyone have binoculars? Nobody? I need to see what's going on up there. All right, so this movie picks up with the Underminer sequence, and it's like they managed to stop the Underminer after some superheroics, and Frozone's there, and he's like, using his ice shields, and he's like stopping the Underminer's tank thing. And because the Incredible family were inside the Underminer's tank fighting with him, Frozone gets the hell out of there. The cops show up and they're like, the Incredible family, you're under arrest because it's
Oh
still
my
illegal to
gosh.
be supers. And they're like, what? No. But the Frozone, he manages to get away because, he's, as we said, he's the best superhero. And this driver shows up in a limo and he's like, hey, you want to make supers legal again? Why don't you get in my limo? And Frozone doesn't even question it. He just gets in. But the driver says to Frozone, "You're my biggest fan. I'm your biggest fan. Shoot."
Do you actually know who the biggest fan of Frozone is?
I do not.
Usher.
Is it?
It is.
That is crazy.
Isn't it? So yes, Usher is in a Disney movie.
Rick Dicker, of course, is able to get the Incredibles, out of trouble again. But because their house is destroyed, they have nowhere to stay. So he's like, listen, I'm putting you up in a hotel for, 3 weeks, and my program's getting shut down. They're not dealing with supers anymore. You're done. And then Bob Odenkirk, I don't remember his character's name. I'm just calling him by his actor. He shows up and he's like, hey, you know what? I want to make supers legal again. Well, Frozone tells them about it and they go to a meeting and they meet with him. And he's like, I want to make supers legal again. And my parents, they were fucking murdered in their house and they tried to call a super, but because supers were illegal, they didn't answer their phone. And so my parents got shot. And he's like, I want supers back because supers could have saved my parents. It's really convoluted backstory, but that's what we're here for. So he's like, the Incredibles, you're not going to stay in, a motel anymore. So here, you can stay at my guest house. And it's just this fucking huge house on a mountain with a long ass driveway. And it's got water features in the side. And
yeah, and Dash is like, this place is awesome.
yeah. I wrote LOL Dash with the remote because he's pressing all the buttons on the remote and starting different things and the floor is moving.
He's literally like a kid that gets in the hotel room, jumps on the bed, grabs the remote, just does everything.
Of course, Bob Odenkirk's like, I want to make supers legal again, but we're not going with Mr. Incredible because you fucking smash everything you touch. And Frozone, even though you're a cool cat, I don't really have the reason that he doesn't get. He's the best. I don't know. And then he's like, hey, Elastigirl, you're gonna be the superhero. And she goes on a mission and she gets a new Elasticycle. And when she first tries out the motorcycle, she slams into a wall. And I thought that was kind of funny. My next note, I wrote, both movies have a train saving scene. Talked about it in the first one, and then this one, Elastigirl saves a train.
Saving trains is a big deal. I don't want trains to crash.
I guess so. And then I wrote, Bob really hates new math. Do you remember that scene?
Oh, yes.
He's trying to help Dash with his homework, And he's like, "Oh, math, I can do this." And he starts doing it, and Dash is like, "Well, that's not the way they want us to do it anymore." He's like, "Well, you can't change math. It's math."
Math is math.
I really like that scene.
Yeah, so since Elastigirl leaves, like you said, she's the star now. So she leaves, and Mr. Incredible stays behind and watches the kids. He's trying to help Dash with homework. Just fucking gets pissed.
He's also severely sleep deprived because he's been dealing with Jack Jack, and because he's found out that Jack Jack has superpowers.
Yeah,
So he's been dealing with that and not getting any sleep, and he's like Kari.
yeah. The fucking raccoon scene.
The raccoon is so funny. Oh my goodness. I don't remember what part this is, but it's a funny line. I wrote, Bob says, I eat thunder and crap lightning.
Nice.
And I don't remember what that's from. And then when we talked about this briefly during the first movie, he takes Jack Jack to go to Edna's, and she ends up babysitting him for a night, and because she makes a suit that can control his powers or whatnot. And about having children, Edna says, I am fortunate it has never afflicted me. I haven't really talked about the villain much, the Screenslaver, but it's, I don't know, not a great villain because you don't like Elastigirl doesn't really fight anybody because it's always just like a normal human being who's being mind controlled by a TV screen or whatever, and she fights them, and it's just never the Screenslaver. So it's not like, I don't know, it's not a great villain, but there is a superhero team that they put together with Elastigirl, and it's all these like B-level heroes. Like one guy's called Brick, and I think he just like can punch stuff. There's a guy named Crusher, and he can just like crush things. And like there's a guy named Reflux, and he can just like acid puke. Yeah, it's just like some B-level superheroes. They end up getting mind controlled later on, and the Incredibles have to fight them or whatever, but not important. So my next note, I wrote, the Screenslaver reveal isn't that big of a twist. If you pay attention, the voice is Bob Odenkirk to throw you off the scent. Because the Screenslaver turns out to be Bob Odenkirk's sister. I don't remember her character name either, but it's the Screenslaver is her, but it's Bob Odenkirk's voice when it's the Screenslaver talking. It's trying to do a twist. Oh, okay. So I found out his name. It's in my next note. I wrote, she has good motivation, though, as well as Winston. So his name's Winston. Don't know her name, though. But yeah, because her motivation.
Her name
like
is Evelyn.
Thank you. So I mentioned his motivation where he was like, our parents got murdered, and if a super could have been there, the super would have saved them. Her motivation is that if her parents weren't such big fans of supers, he wouldn't have even had the super phone, and he would have just gotten in his panic room and locked the door, and he would have survived the night. He wouldn't have got shot. But because he believed in supers and called them instead of getting in his panic room, her parents got murdered. It's good motivation on both sides, right? Like that's why I say a good villain has good motivation. I just think the villain's somewhat lackluster because you can't, just not a villain. Then I wrote, Jack Jack's supersuit scene is really funny. It's when she brings Bob back to Edna brings Bob back to get Jack Jack, and she's like showing him how to use the suit and whatever, and he's changing into all his powers, and she's just offering him cookies. Nom nom cookie. And then I wrote, Frozone takes on a whole super team by himself. What a fucking badass. Because the superhero team, like I said, they get mind controlled by Screenslaver. They go to the Incredibles' house to kidnap the kids. But of course, Frozone shows up and he's like, kids, get out of here. And he takes on that entire team by himself, and he can fucking whoop some ass. He's the best superhero. And I forgot to mention this, but the Incredimobile from the first movie, Bob thought it was lost, and some rich guy at an auction bought it. And Bob's like, oh, I have the remote. I can get it to come to me. And he's like, I'm not going to steal my car back. But then Dash finds the remote and steals it from the rich guy. The incredible car just smashes through the wall. They're able to escape. But yeah, so then they're able to escape in the car. And I wrote, the Incredimobile is one of my favorite movie cars of all time. It looks so fucking sweet.
It is a cool car.
And my last note in this movie, trying to breeze through this movie, The boat scene is insane. Such a good rescue. Frozone goes above and beyond in this movie. He's so cool.
He's ice cold.
I love the quote in the first movie when he shows up to dinner and Bob goes, Frozone, nice of you to stop by. And Frozone goes, yeah, never heard that one before. These movies got some good comedy in them.
Did you, as a person, know that Dash was voiced by someone different this time around?
Yes. It's hard to tell though. I watched the movies back to back, and
Yeah.
the voice is very spot on.
Yes, it was. The one in this one doesn't have a Wikipedia page.
Because I think it was an actual child.
Ah.
Sorry to blow through that movie really quick, but what's your final opinion? Do you have any more notes?
I do not have any more notes. Like I said, I don't quite remember that one all that well. So my final opinion is that raccoon movie, the raccoon scene is amazing.
It is really cool. I like that one a lot.
Super fun, super funny. And yeah, across the board, I give it 5 stars. I just remember it was being really good.
I also give it 5 stars. I don't think it's as good as the first one because, like, the first one's just, incredible.
Mm.
Pardon my pun.
This is incredible too.
Yeah,
Like
it's
as
just,
well.
yeah, it's a good movie.
They should have just called it
Incredible too.
to TOO. Like also, like this movie's also incredible. Incredible.
Kind of like Dumb and
2.
Dumber too.
Exactly. All right, up next, it's called Auntie Edna from 2018. It's another short.
Yeah, this one was directed by Ted Mathit. Not sure why Brad Bird didn't direct it. I thought that was a little bit weird. Don't know who Ted Mathit is either. But this one's only 5 minutes long. Same as Jack Jack Attack.
So now the last 2 came out as a bonus feature on the DVD a year later than it came out in theaters. This is the same year as it came out in theaters.
Yes, because I think Blu-rays they come out way quicker nowadays.
Okay.
It's only like maybe 2 months after theater release.
Gotcha.
2 to 3 months.
Yeah, same thing like Jack Jack Attack, where it's like a behind the scenes, same timeline.
Also, I think the first Incredibles was released later in the year in 2004, if I remember correctly.
The first one came out in November. The second one came out in June.
I knew it.
It's about when Jack was being watched by Edna.
Yeah, and she's like developing his suit and designing his suit, which it's just the Incredible suit, but it's got footies and no eye on it.
Yeah, and Jack and his powers are just popping off.
I have 2 notes about this. My first note relates to what you just said. I wrote, holy shit, Jack has so many powers.
So many.
He's got like 20,000. That's hyperbole, but he's got a lot. And then my second note is this was fun.
It was fun. It was quick. It was just like a do, and it's done. Nice.
Yeah, I really liked it. It was just a fun little thing.
Yeah.
What would you give this?
I give it 4 stars.
Ah.
Yeah.
I gave it 5.
Oh yeah.
I just think besides the Mr. Incredible and Pals, this is a 5-star franchise. I like everything that's ever been released from it.
Yeah. I like it all too, but it's just not the same caliber in my opinion.
I think it was Jurassic. No, it was just Hangover last week where you were like, it's just a 4-star franchise. I think it's just a 5-star franchise.
There you go. You give it a blanket rating, 5 stars.
Yeah. And because Mr. Incredible and Pals says 4 stars, but I gave Mr. Incredible and Pals commentary 6 stars, that equals up to 5. So
there you go.
All right. I think that wraps up The Incredibles.
I do too. That was incredible.
It was.
Yeah.
Pardon the pun.
No pardon. Just I'm gonna
okay.
Just let it pun you right in the face.
Oh jeez. I don't like pun on my face.
Huh. Are you ready?
For what?
Wheel of
Versus.
This is the part of the podcast where we each choose a few characters from the movies we just discussed and make them battle each other to the death. We chose them in a Playguard-like picking with captains going one at a time. We're just doing 3 this round, and it's spinning on a wheel one at a time, elimination style, to the death. Who do you have on your team?
I have Violet, Elastigirl, and Gazer Beam.
Ooh. I've got Jack, Frozone, and Mr. Incredible.
Nice. I am going to click spin.
Spinning. Who'd you get?
I got Gazer Beam.
I've got Jack.
Oh, geez. Well, Gazer Beam is basically just Cyclops. He has the laser beam from his eyes. Seems like an unfair fight because I don't think Gazer Beam would kill a baby.
It's to the death. He would have to.
That's true. He's like, I normally wouldn't do this, but I'm going to set my morals aside for the quality of this battle.
Yes.
So I think he could kill him. He's got the laser. He could just shoot him.
But one of Jack's powers
Yeah, he can go
is
into
Metal
another
Jack.
dimension.
Also that, but also Metal Jack is kind of like a mirror.
Yeah.
Which then would
Or
reflect.
I think he can turn into a mirror also. No, he can turn into a diamond. That's one of the powers that he has. So that would reflect and
Right
Gazer
back
Beam
at ya.
was killed by a robot. So I guess you got to take this. I don't think Jack is capable of death, but I don't know. Maybe when he turns into that gremlin, he's just like
right, especially on fire.
But I tell you, if Gazer Beam has a cookie in his pocket, game over for Jack.
No, game over for because as soon as that cookie's gone, because
but he gives him the cookie,
that's...
and you're like taking a bite of the cookie, and you're like, "Brup, brup, brup, brup," and he's like, off with their head.
Yeah, but you already gave me the point because you don't have a cookie. Sorry,
That's
Gazer
true.
Beam.
Yeah, I don't know if he even has pockets in his panda.
Yeah, I don't know. All right, spinning. Who'd you get?
I got Elastigirl.
All right, well, set your morals aside for this one because it's Mr. Incredible. And yes, it's to the death.
I honestly think Elastigirl can take this one.
I don't know because
You got super strength, right? Like he's not impervious. Like I think his one power is super strength, and he's slightly impervious, but he can't I don't know.
So what are you trying to say you're doing? How are you going to win this?
Well, you go for a punch, she just stretches. You know what I mean? And then she can just stretch around you and smother your face, wrap around your face, and just and then you choke you out.
But he can grab her and rip off.
But wouldn't she just stretch? See, I think his arm length is only like this. So even if he was ripping, she would just stretch. She was stretched between those three doors.
Well, then how can anyone ever beat her? Like the way you're talking about how
Rubber
she
bullets.
can stretch, make it sound like she's invincible.
Rubber bullets. That's how you can hurt stretchy guys in comic books is rubber bullets. Or freezing them. If it was Frozone versus Elastigirl, let me tell you, Elastigirl will be done for.
Sure.
Yeah, she'd be out. She stretches, you freeze her, you karate chop her arm off, I think Elastigirl could beat Mr. Incredible though.
I think you're right. All right, we are tied.
Who you got left?
I have Frozone.
I got Violet. This is interesting.
It is.
She's got force fields and can turn invisible. I'm pretty sure Frozone, let me make my case here.
Sure.
Frozone, in the first movie, they're in that fire. And he's like, hey, Frozone, get moisture out of the air. And he's like, there's no moisture in the air because there's no oxygen because of the fire. So if Violet just put a force field around Frozone, that would suffocate the air and he couldn't draw moisture out of it to make his ice.
I think he's so quick and slick that he is far away.
But if she goes invisible, and he's
he's just shooting fucking ice daggers everywhere and creating waves and boxes are in. And the second because he's just throwing fucking ice everywhere. And the second one either almost hits her or hits her, she's gonna be but force field. And then as soon as she does force field, he's gonna come up and put a giant fucking ice wall in every direction around her, and she's gonna have to eventually let up that force field, and then she's gonna be trapped in ice, which will then equal hypothermia, which will then eventually equal death because she's surrounded in ice that he's constantly adding to. So now this ice is freaking miles thick, and you're trapped in the fucking ice because he's just ice baby.
I think she could expand her force field to break the ice, mostly because in the movies, his ice is not very strong. He's not as strong as Iceman from the X-Men or whatever. His ice breaks constantly.
No.
Definitely. It takes him so much ice to stop the Underminer's tank in the beginning, the tank at the end of the first movie with Syndrome, um, the boat at the end of this one, Incredibles 2, where he's trying to use his ice to turn the boat. Takes him forever. His ice is constantly breaking. I think Violet could take this, but I don't know. What do you think?
I guess.
I think I made some strong picks with this one
Even though when I was picking, I chose Frozone. You're like, damn it, you're gonna win.
because I was worried about Elastigirl because I knew I was like, if Elastigirl goes up to Frozone, I was like, I'm done. Because especially when you pick Jack Jack, I was like, oh shit.
Yeah. All right, you win.
Nice.
Back.
That means the record is
8-7. All right, well, congratulations. If you win next episode, we'll be tied again.
we haven't been tied since Superman,
That's right.
which I felt unfair about. But I'll take that win, that dirty win.
Overall, though, this was fun. I enjoyed myself thoroughly.
I did too. This was a really fun episode. I really liked rewatching the first Incredibles because I hadn't seen it in a long time.
Yeah, did you have an incredible time?
I did.
Good. Well, do you want to throw out our email one more time?
Sure. Our email is ourdadsourbrothers@gmail.com. It's in the description if it's hard to understand, and you can send us emails of anything you'd like. Make sure you do that.
Yeah. And if you have any dollars, throw them our way.
Yes, it would help us immensely.
Subscription / support something or other. It's in the description as well.
And there's timestamps in the description. I'm going to start saying that at the beginning, but you can click
Yeah,
around and
timestamps.
go to anything.
Yeah. And our socials.
Yes.
Not our social security numbers.
No, our social medias.
Our platforms.
You don't have to follow me on Twitter.
What are we doing next week?
We are going to be talking about the future of the MCU. They just recently announced all of Phase 5 and part of Phase 6. And so, yeah, we're going to talk about what's going to happen in the future.
Oh, dang.
I think it'll be very fun.
It will be fun. Well, cool. I'll see you there.
I will see you there, or I will see you another time.
Perfect. Well, it's Nathan Tracy.
And I'm Bat Tracy. And our dads are brothers.
That they are. That was fun.
It was fun.
We should do it again sometime.
Like tomorrow?
No, that's too soon. How about like a week from now?
Yeah, that could work.
Yeah, that'd be a good timing.
Maybe like a podcast?
Sure, if that's what you want to call it.
We would just need a clever name.
Yeah.
Hey, I got one.
What
This
is it?
podcast is incredible.
Perfect.
I love it.
All right, bye.
Bye.